Hi everyone, this is my formative assessment technologies on Quizlet. So looking at the website, what it is basically just flashcards with a bunch of different activities that you can learn terms on it. I have different study sets on math and science, just so that you can see that it's not just studying vocab words and finding their definitions. So when I click on the math one, for example, there are different study sets already pre-made that you can use, looking at just math problems to study with, if that's something that you want your students to use. And then it gives you different options on how to use it. So personally, I've used the flashcards and the matching one with my students, and the Classic Live. So the Classic Live is a fun one because you can have students in random teams or individual, and I like random teams just to get them to work together, and basically they all have to work together to find one solution on all their screens. So that's always a fun one to use. Checkpoint is more individual. So for this one, you kind of select which questions you want to focus on, and it gives them like a quick little checkpoint, and it gives them feedback right away so that they can figure out whether or not they were right in their responses. Learn is just another one where they can decide if they want to quickly study or memorize it all, depending on what the goal is here. You don't have to personalize it. You can just kind of go ahead and start practicing. The test is another interesting feature that it has. You can decide what kind of questions you want, whether they're true or false, multiple choice, even written responses if you need to. So that's kind of cool. You can select how many questions you want. So if you want to make it a test or a smaller quiz, if you will, and then it'll have you start your test. So these are the kinds of questions that you might see. It'll mix up all the terms so that you can really test your skills, and they're not all the same, just multiple response or multiple choice questions. And then you can submit and figure out your score. It'll test it for or score it for you. You can review any skipped questions. And then I didn't select any, so it's probably going to give me a 0, and it'll give you kind of feedback there, how many correct and incorrect, and it offers the next steps on either practicing the terms that you learned or to try to take another test. So I think that's a cool feature that it has. The test feature is only offered if you do the upgrade. So the upgrade, I think, has a lot more teacher features, if you will. So you can customize different things, focus on the class, engaging them. This is where you can really track your students to see how they've completed their study sessions or what they need to do to really just track their progress. So with the plus feature, it also removes ads and it gives you just different options. So that is something to look at. I've thought about getting the Quizlet Plus just because I really enjoy how Quizlet works, and I think it's a good way for students to practice their skills. So to analyze it, let me see here. For Key 3 Sound Design, it does have different learning targets depending on the game that you choose to study your set with. The rubric scores for high quality, I wouldn't say high quality, depending on what you're looking for. It does offer, like I said, different options for testing, but it just depends kind of what you're looking for. Does the sample represent learning appropriately? I think so, only because you can choose which kind of questions you want to include in the assessments. Does it control for bias? I said yes as well, only because it's very content-based, not really looking for a way to gear towards one type of student or another. And again, with the different types of assessments, you can really grasp the whole class. Do teachers know how to create assessments for formative use? Again, with the different options and tests and individual assessments, you can personalize that however you wish. For the formative assessment guide to next instructional steps, that one came with the test one, and again, that one's offered if you would get the plus feature. Students receiving and acting on feedback. Because of the different games, they can choose how they want to, how they're going to progress, how they're going to kind of continue practicing. So if they were doing a matching game and they want to get a higher score, they can always do it that way with going back and trying to practice more. I said no to students offering accurate feedback to peers because it's more individual practice. However, when you do the Quizlet Live, you can pair up as a team or with a partner, and this will help them to kind of help each other practice and study the sets together. Are they engaged in accurate self-assessment and productive goal setting? Yes. Again, this is for more individual for students to practice these skills on their own. So for the key number 5, effective communication, is the formative assessment information tracked as needed? Yes. Again, that comes with the plus feature, unless it's just students tracking their own progress. They can reflect on how they are learning. They can see if they are getting more correct at a faster rate as well. However, I said no for the 2 summative checkpoints because this is more of a formative assessment. Unless you're using the test feature as a summative assessment in itself in that point, then that would move over to yes. Thank you for listening.